Hey gang, welcome back. Welcome to modules 7 and 8. We'll talk about module 7 right now. It's our first real evidence-based technique. So this will be covering PCIT, parent-child interaction therapy. So let's just get started. There's a lot to this. Go ahead and share my screen. Make sure I do that so I'm not lecturing to no one with nothing behind me. Here we go. All right, so we're sharing it and I'm getting smaller and there we go. Okay, so let's talk about what's out here. So I give you a quick outline under the module for PCIT. One of these links is bad, and I inserted some other ones, so don't worry about it. There are some demonstrations here. One of these you'll actually do your activity with. So it goes directly to your activity, and then you'll reflect on that activity for your discussion board assignment. So it'll be pretty cool. Hopefully this will all tie together and it won't be too time consuming. There's a lot here, but I'm really trying to condense it so you get an understanding without too much time spent. This lecture overview, I'm going to try to hit these components throughout this lecture. Just give you a quick background when it's called for, the demonstrations. You'll get to the coding practice and I'll hopefully show you that, techniques, role play, and then certification requirements. So I did give you, back here in our module, I did provide for you the actual up-to-date certification training guidelines. So if you upload or download this is what comes up in the PDF. So this is actually from the PCIT website, and it tells you exactly what's required. So you have to have, a graduate education. So you have to finish that degree before you can actually jump in here. And, independently licensed. So this may be a little while, or be working under the supervision of a licensed mental health supervisor. So if you really like this, this is my cup of tea. This is what I want to do. This is the population I want to work with. Number one, it's going to be with small kids, ages 2 to 7. So if that's who you really want to work with, who you really want to target, this may be for you. So just pay attention to some of these things. I'm not going to read them because you can read through them if you're interested, and I'm not going to test you on this. So again, you might look through this. Now, I do want to look at this, though. Demonstrate skill development. The applicant's competence will be observed by a PCIT trainer in the following sessions conducted by the applicant. So you'll be a CDI, a child-directed interaction teacher. We'll get into what that is in just a moment. You'll be a parent-directed interaction teacher. You're going to model these things when you're a teacher, and also give some rationale for why you do it. You'll be a child-directed interactive coach. This technique requires a two-way mirror. In other words, you have to be able to see your client and your clients interact. It's for parent and children. They both are together during this therapy technique. And then parent-directed interaction, and you're the coach. When you're a coach, you're actually observing through a one-way mirror, and you're able to through an earpiece communicate with that parent and give them feedback, live feedback during their interaction with the child, so they get this immediate training, and feedback from you. And so we'll talk about, let's just jump in, because I think that gave us a decent enough introduction here. So let's go back to our module if this will let me. There we go. Okay, so that's under PCIT training. This is a video. It's a short overview of PCIT. So there you can kind of see the two-way mirror, where the clinician is actually, that would be a coach. This would be a coaching session with the parent. There's another overview video. There are some out there. I have a couple of videos that I share later that are kind of silly, of people actually doing PCIT or modeling it, and I use one of them for your activity. But there are some you can go out on YouTube and look for others if you're interested. I shared these two. There was one I found that was barely audible when the person was coaching, so I didn't share that one. PCIT sample packet. So these are quite a few pages I've actually copied from a PCIT training manual, And it gives you, and it's an older manual. It's been updated, but it's the one that I had access to when I went through training. I'm not certified in this. I didn't go through the full supervision, the full process, but I did get, a full day's worth of digesting this. And I found some useful things, and also was I bought in enough hearing about it that I was like, yeah, this is going to work. This is going to help children that have trouble specifically with that bond. So think about children who have been separated from a parent. Think about a parent who has been abusive. Think about situations, with child welfare, maybe state involvement. This is going to, and again, they have to be 7 and younger for this to be effective and really, indicated. So there's some parameters that you want to look at. Some of those are mentioned in these videos. This lady here does a good job of just really quickly looking at the parameters around and so I won't talk about them here, around the technique. There are 2 basic components to PCIT, and the first is child-directed interaction. Let me pull that up so we can look at it here. And so it starts with, this actually is something that you're going to use in your activity this week, and you'll reflect on this activity in your discussion. So this very first page, pay attention to this, print this off, or at least make it somehow get where you're going to use this, where it's usable for you, because you're going to actually code. You're going to actually be coding these skills that you see demonstrated in the video. So I will share that YouTube video with you, and you will go through and you will look for times when the parent, the pseudo parent, they're role playing the parent, is describing behaviors of the child, is reflecting, the behaviors of the child, is using labeled praise, very specific praise. I really like the way that you're using your inside voice right now and speaking calmly to me. That very specific praise. And then unlabeled praise. So you'll make tally marks. Tally marks, if you don't know what those are, it's basically you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you put a slash through for number 5. And then you go, you start again, 6, 7, 8, 9, slash mark for 10. So you make a tally mark for each one of these. Now, the difficult part about the activity is you're not going to be used to this. And so you're going to, now the useful thing is that you can rewind, the YouTube video. So imagine doing this for real practice. I want you to have real practice doing this if you're an actual clinician doing this. Imagine coding this in real time. So again, you'll observe and at times you'll coach, at other times you're going to teach, how to do this. So you'll also want to be able to model this for parents. You'll also, when you're a PCIT therapist, you'll also use these techniques, kind of a parallel process with the parent. I mean, you'll want to use this labeled praise. You'll want to use this behavior description, the reflection piece back to them, especially when you're coaching them, to give them confidence, to give that parent confidence that, especially if there's that strained relationship, if the child has behavioral difficulties, if they've been separated for a long time, this CDI, this child-directed interaction, is really, it's solidly built to enhance the relationship of the parent and the child. That has to be present before, you can do any type of parent, like redirecting or discipline actions as a parent. You have to have this relationship first. So if you think about our overarching model, our trauma model, then think about oxytocin. This, and I haven't seen the research on it because I don't know that it's been out there yet, but this I would want to know, are you enthusiastic enough as a parent that you're causing an oxytocin release in that child, in that interaction? And hopefully that's genuine enough. I mean, it'll feel contrived. The videos that you watch are going to feel very contrived. So it works when you can get to a point of genuineness and congruence. This really, again, it's that oxytocin release. It's helping the child feel safe, secure. You'll want to also note mistakes for the parent. When you can't ask questions, that's the hard thing. And so think about your intensive experience where you can't ask questions. It's the same thing for the parent here. The parent has to refrain from asking questions. The parent has to refrain from giving commands. As a parent of a 4 and a 6-year-old, I can tell you that's extremely difficult because you're so used to, in day-to-day interaction, giving commands, keeping them out of trouble, making sure they're safe. And certainly you want to avoid criticism. So you want to block out at least 5-10 minutes worth of time where, this child gets this time. It can't be sacrificed no matter what. And so there's these daily doses of child-directed interaction, CDI. There's these daily, they become rituals where the child has no pressure whatsoever from the parent, no questions, no commands, no criticism, and they're simply allowed to be. And it's usually centered around an activity, say like a Play-Doh or drawing or some sort of non-competitive game, a cooperative activity. There are these things where the child leads the conversation, the child leads the play. It's non-directive as the parent, the caregiver. There is no direction here. So here's there's essential skills to get. And so let me talk about these. And so you'll know what these are. I'm only going to require in the assignment that you look at that first sheet and make tally marks. Now don't go as far as the assignment goes, don't go farther. This is just for your own information. But this is also, when you watch, there'll also be a second video where the person doesn't necessarily model good behavior as a parent. You want to have PRIDE skills, PRIDE. Those stand for praise, and specifically labeled praise. R in PRIDE, PRIDE, is part of child-directed interaction, is reflection. So just simply reflecting back what the child says. The child said, "This is a blue crayon." Yes, that's a blue crayon. You're validating. Think about your own, experience as a counselor, that when you feel validated, when somebody reflects what happens, you can also paraphrase, slightly, make it close enough that the child understands. Also, the parent is expected to imitate appropriate play. So if the child makes, a box out of Play-Doh, say they model it into a box or roll it up into a ball, as the parent, you're expected to roll that ball, that Play-Doh up into a ball, or make it into a box. Imitate the child. It gives you kind of the methodology and the reasoning behind it, the rationale. You're going to describe appropriate behavior. So even if the child's silent, not talking, and just doing things like playing, wow, you're drawing a sun, or you're making a ball out of Play-Doh, and you can say the same thing. You're making a ball out of Play-Doh. This has been shown to increase verbal skills. This has been shown to increase verbal comprehension. It's been shown to. There are things that if the parent hasn't been in impoverished homes where, and when I say impoverished, I mean like attention-wise, economic, the full 9 yards, where people are just overly stressed. The parent hasn't been able to attend that closely to the child, and so it gives all this development time to take place. It hasn't been taking place. And lastly, be enthusiastic. So read closely before you do the coding. Read closely over items 9 through 13, and that's going to help you. Okay, let's move on. I don't want to take too much time, but the PRIDE, the PRIDE skills, are very, very important. The second part of this is parent-directed interaction. If you actually do this in practice, this is what the parent is going to want to be focused on, because this helps parents with discipline. And so there are certain parameters, and you're welcome to read through this. I'm not going to do it because it's not required of your activity, but you're welcome to read through this because there are certain parameters. Again, there are certain limitations on parents when they're providing correction, for the child. So the parent can lead. The parent leads the interaction, but then there are certain rules for a timeout. There are certain rules for interactions and language used. So please look through this, and hopefully again, I don't want to take too much time from you. I know everybody's very pressed this summer with getting through. Okay, that said, here's our coding activity down at the end. And so you'll have exercise instructions here. And also this gives you the link to the video to watch. Again, you're coding, use that child-directed interacting, the CDI coding. It's coding, C-O-D-I-N-G. Oh my goodness. It's a coding sheet found, it's the very first page. Just pay attention to that first page and make the tally marks on the, what you download there. And then the discussion can be found under discussions, because I need to copy it over there. But please know the discussion is a reflection on your activity. I hope this has helped. I will be back with video module 8. Take care, and as always, reach out to me if you have any questions.